ban the black and white crayon color people identification. And I'd like to launch today, what's this today, the 19th of July, a one-year program of encouraging people to stop calling people black or white. Now, we launched a similar kind of event going back 5 years ago now, was it 4 years ago, at the Gettysburg event on the racial reconciliation and healing, and we'll get to that meeting that we held at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, that great killing field there in Gettysburg, where nearly 60,000 men lost their lives in that day and a half of fighting. We went down there to proclaim racial reconciliation and healing. And in that process, we said we're going to stop calling people black and white. And we've not been as successful at that, not we've been unsuccessful, but these terms are so ingrained in the language structure of the way people identify one another that even though we launched it at Gettysburg, we're still working on getting it tightened up. So today, I want to reaffirm our commitment to stop calling people black or white as a crayon color for their identification. And we're going to launch a one-year program and invite you to come alongside of me to help me make this possible. And rather than calling people by some crayon box color, such as black or white, we're going to use the biblical names that ought to be identified by these persons. And the biblical names for the people that are allegedly called white. Now, they did have a territorial name of the Caucasoid Mountains, which is a northern Europe, if you will, group of mountains. They're not a major mountain range, but they're the Caucasoid Mountains, Eastern Europe. And for whatever reasons, up until, I suppose, about the 17th century, people weren't calling each other black or white. It was only when we began to integrate with Africa by colonization, by Europeans colonizing Africa, that the Europeans began to identify the Africans by the Latin word negro or negro. And for whatever reasons, the Africans who didn't call themselves black or negro began to call the Europeans when they came into Africa, they began to call them white. So they exchanged names. Just for generic purposes, which has been my fallacy for failing for the past 4 or 5 years. The black people began to call the colonizing Europeans white, and the colonizing Europeans in Africa began to call the African people black, and there you have it. But they were known as Caucasoids, long before the colonization events that happened starting around the 15th and 16th and 17th century of Europe finally going into Africa. And that's how these two names have come to be. And they're both really very ugly names. They're demeaning names. They come out of an ugly historical period, and they should have never lasted this long. I mean, it represents a failure of humanity for somebody to not recognize, wait a minute, calling people from the Caucasoid region, or Europeans as they were known, calling them white is ridiculous. These people aren't white. What are you calling them white for? And then, we call them white because the Africans started calling them white people. Oh, well, that's still. And then, of course, black people being called black by Africans. So let's get rid of that. They have a biblical name. So the white people, we can start with them if you like. Their biblical name is Japheth. Their father is a fellow by the name of Japheth. That's their father. Listen, when Noah landed that boat, that ark, after 40 days of rain, Noah took on board that ark with him 3 boys and their wives. One of the boys' name was Japheth. And he later became the Japheth people as a group, family, moved north and from the region where they were in pretty much, which is the Mesopotamia region. Some say it was further north in the Asia area, but I believe it was more in the Mesopotamia area, more of around the Tigris and Euphrates region, and we can debate that. But they began to move north into the northern region of Greenland and Russia and Norway and Finland and Sweden and Switzerland and Germany, and they became known as European and Caucasoid. But they're not white. They're Japheth. They're a Japheth people. And so, their skin texture has pretty much acclimated itself to the region in which they've lived. Now, the Hamites, black people, they're referred to as black people, but they're Hamites. As you can see in Genesis chapter 9, verse 18, Noah had 3 sons. One of his sons was named Shem. Now, he's the father of the Jewish people. We're not going to talk about them right now because the Jewish people don't get named by color. They get named either by their religion or by their father Shem. They call themselves Semites now, but they don't get a color. And rightly so, and powerfully so, and amen and hallelujah to the Jews. We don't call them white, we call them Jewish. It's ridiculous. So why call the Japheth people white, and why call the Hamite people black? But the Hamites it ought to be what we ought to start calling one of the people. Now, this has not been easy to do. It has not been easy to do. We've been working on this for the past 4 or 5 years to try to get people to stop calling people by some fictitious crayon color designation that it isn't even a correct assessment. So in particular, Hamite people, black people, are Hamites. They're the son of Ham, so you call them Hamites. All right? They are Hamites. So we want to launch today on the 19th of July here in the year 2021 a program to try to convince people to stop saying that somebody is black, right? Because nobody is. Nobody is black. Or stop saying that somebody is white. I know you're not white. I said a couple of years ago that Newt Gingrich got a black daddy because his name is Leroy. Leroy. I said, who would name the only black folk name their sons Leroy? But if you look at Newt Gingrich, he got white hair and red skin. At least, I was telling you a few moments ago how when the Japheth people, y'all call them white, when the Japheth people went into Africa colonizing in the 17th century, the African Americans, the engineer's going to show you Newt Gingrich. That's white. That has white, but that boy ain't white. So the difference, he ain't white. All right, so we see that, right? So when they went into Africa, right, the Europeans, all the Hamites, the Africans call them, hey, they're white people, but they're not white. And all the white people, Japheth people, call the Africans black. So all that mess got started in the 17th century over there in Africa with the colonization. Let's stop it, right? But you can check this out. Listen, this one will kill you. No, it will. This will knock your socks off. When Columbus, right, sailed the ocean blue in 1492, and the Pilgrims, right, started arriving in America. Guess what the Indians called them? The Native Americans. I shouldn't call them Indian. The Native Americans, guess what? They named each other again. That same old mess, the same thing they did in Africa, they did the same thing here in America. Everywhere the Japheth boy goes, he starts trouble with color. I'm telling you, that boy starts trouble with color. So he comes over here from Europe, right? Comes over here from Europe, and he sees the Native American, guess what he called them? Redskins, right? He started naming, that Japheth boy loved to call people out of the color crayon box. But not to be outdone, the Native American, you refer to them as Indians, called the Japheth boy paleface. Maybe one of the African kings should have called him paleface too. Go paleface. So everybody just colors their pointing fingers at one another. The Puritans, the Pilgrims, Columbus boys, the Native American, they redskin. They got red skin. Okay, all right. So the redskin, not to be outdone, said, you paleface, redskin, paleface, redskin, paleface, redskin. What? Can we stop all of this? Can we stop all of this? And by the way, the Native Americans are Hamites. That's right. That is right. You say, well, are they the lost tribe of the children of Israel? Israel? No. But you know, when I lived around them, I have my ancestors, some of my ancestors were Cherokee and Indians, and down there in North Carolina, down in Pembroke. Ever been to Pembroke? Pembroke, North Carolina, down there right outside of Lumberton, or just off 95, just before you get to the South Carolina border, McCall, South Carolina. Pembroke, North Carolina, a lot of people believe it's the lost tribe of Israel that got settled over there. No, they are Hamites. The Native Americans are Hamites. So we can stop calling them redskin, stop calling them Indians. They are Hamites, all right? So now, this is a major undertaking, and, you know, I'm going to need your help and prayers to be able to do it. Can I enlist you? I shouldn't be laughing because it ain't funny. Can I deputize you to just stop calling people black, stop calling people white, stop calling people Indian, stop calling people paleface, right? Can I deputize you to do that? You say, well, this movement probably ain't going to go very far if you don't get people in the media. The hell with the people in the media. Let them keep on blaspheming. It's between you and I, right? Let's just stop calling people that, right? Now you say, well, Pastor, I hear you say that often, but you also go back to use the term black and white occasionally. Yeah, I do, and you're going to have to do that as well. But in my heart, right, I know that the true identity is his father's identity, not some crayon box color. I know that. But because not everybody is ready to get up on and understand what a Hamite is, what a Japheth is, what a Shemite is, you have to use that old generic term, right? But there are no black people. There aren't any black people anywhere. There aren't any. Now, you may have seen some really dark-colored mahogany people, but they're not black. You've not seen any black people. And I can tell you this, you ain't never seen no white person, unless you're looking at Casper the Ghost or somebody. I ain't never seen no white person. I ain't never seen no white person. So down in North Carolina, I was raised up, where they had white water fountain and the colored water fountain, nobody should have been drinking, because there weren't no white people down there, and there weren't no black people. So we want to ban the use of the color of people, colored water fountain, colored this, colored that, you know, colored movies, colored, want to ban that. Now, this is not going to be an easy task, and I understand that. But I do believe that if I can convince 7 people over the next year, I would have maybe 12. I can get 12 disciples to say, I'm just stop calling people white because I ain't never seen no white person. I'm stop calling people black because I ain't never seen no black person. I'm going to stop calling people redskin because I ain't never seen no redskin. They're Hamites, right? The liberal media, if the New York Times or Washington Post said, well, that's a good idea. Let's do that because that's humanitarian. It seems like the right thing to do. It may even be peace between the races. It may do a whole lot of things economically. It may change the structure of our education. It may better America. It may make America a better place. It may even make Africa a better place. It can't make it worse. Let's get on board with this liberal media, the Washington Post, New York Times, all that crowd. They ain't going to do that. Well, they're not going to do it because I said it. They're not going to do it. They don't like me. And I don't like them. A feeling is mutual. Not like for a not like. But, they don't like me because I don't, because I'm against Obama, right? Because I said he ain't black. That's the first thing, right? Then I'm against LGBTQ, right? And I tell Hamite people the truth about themselves. They want me to do what they do. Lie to the Hamite man. Tell him he been held down. Listen, let me tell you something. The Hamite man was the first man to own slaves. Go down and read your doggone Bible. The Bible says in the book of Genesis that God told Abraham that you're going to be a slave over there in Egypt for 400 years. You're gonna be a slave, you Jew. So I tell the Hamite brother the truth about himself. And I ain't done nothing since then. But I tell them the truth, and they don't like that. So they're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna depend. The media ain't gonna do this. They are not gonna do this. They're out there now with this old critical race theory type of thing. I'm gonna be posting something up about that a little bit later on today also. But they're not gonna help me. But the liberal media was able to help people ban the N-word. You say the N-word now, you're going to go to jail. That's right. unless you're Richard Pryor or somebody, one of the comedians. They can use it all the time. They've been using it, But you can't, no. They say we ain't going to use the N-word no more. Everybody thought the N-word was a term of endearment, But no, Whoopi Goldberg said we can use it, but y'all can't use it. Doggone. What does that mean? Anyway, so they did ban it. And, the media controls the education system. They control the churches. And so as a result of that, they're not going to come and aid me in this whole process of, but if you just know the etymology of these words, the etymology of these words happened when the Europeans crusaded into Africa to colonize, and the African looked up and said, them people white, but they weren't. And the crusaders, the colonization people, Europeans looked at the Africans and said, them people black. And the whole mess, it's time to stop it. That's what I'm trying to say. Time to stop it. And you use and use the appropriate, the name of their father. Call them by their father, the way the Jews call. The way the Jews are known as either Jews or they're known as Semites, but they're not known as white. And the other thing is that we're going to stop the Redskins, right? Redskin. Same old. That Japheth boy, he loved to colonize. That boy loved to colonize. He came over here to America, right? Columbus and the Vikings came before Columbus, by the way. Anyway, he came over. No, he came over here and saw the Native Americans who were Hamites and called them Redskins, right? And the Redskins called the Japheth brother, Paleface. Let's stop that, okay? Can I get 12 people over the next year to say, one person a month say, Pastor Manning, I'm deputized now, I'm going to stop calling people black and white and Redskins and Paleface. Because sometimes those names are a lot of fun. And I ain't going to get into that. By the way, the actual color of the so-called Africa is mahogany, right? So today, you know what I did? I put on a mahogany color. So this deep purple is the only color thing. This shirt, this thing I got on, this T-shirt is about as close as I can get to the absurdity of what you call black folk, right? Now, you may say, well, the color's not really mahogany; it's more purple. It's more mahogany than it's purple. The shirt itself, right? Sure. But the color of the line on the shirt is what? Black. Right? Oh, come on now, let's talk. I wore this shirt just for you today. I wore this shirt just to deputize you, to let you know that the man you call black, he ain't black. That's black, but he's more mahogany than he is black. I wore this just for you. Just for you. And to show you how ridiculous it is to call this shirt black. This shirt ain't black. I got something on the shirt that is black, but the shirt ain't black. And the Hamite brother, he ain't black either. He ain't black. He's mahogany. I'm deep purple, deep red. But he ain't black. You ain't never seen no black man in your life. And I ain't never seen no white man. Come on. We just need to get real, right? And you would think that, if somebody came from Mars, even from heaven, and said, what on earth are they doing? By the way, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to blame the Japheth boy because he's the one that started all of this, right? No, the Japheth boy, now he calls himself white. They used to call him Caucasus or the European. I'm going to blame him because he's the one that started it. He's the one that went down yonder into Africa, got on a boat, went down there to Africa, right? Went into Africa and started calling the people he saw in Africa black. They ain't black. This is black. This lion face is black. The people on black, he the one started it. He started it, but not to be outdone. Not to be outdone. My brothers, the Hamites, said the man that came here to colonize us, got that blonde hair and them blue eyes, he's white. Now his eyes may have been blue, And his hair may have been blonde, but that boy ain't white. But I'm gonna put it in a blame game. I'm gonna do what all Hamites do. I'm gonna blame the white man. Blame the Japheth. Because he the one started it. If he had stayed up there in Europe and minded his own business, we never would have gotten into all this. And by the way, if he had stayed in Europe, never would have come over here to America, we never would have gotten in this mess over here where he started calling the Native Americans redskins and they started calling him paleface. But he started it. Twice. He did it in America and he did it in Africa. He's the starter of this whole thing. I think maybe if the Hamite, Native Americans had gone over to Africa, they wouldn't have called them black. But I wore this shirt today just for you. Aren't you humbled by that? All right. So you can see the difference between black and mahogany. Can't you see? So, and by the way, black. Oh, thank you, Mr. Engineer. Oh boy, look at the engineer. Woo-wee. Look what the engineer just did. Woo-wee. Gotta buy him a hamburger at McDonald's. Anyway, see that? It's black, and that's mahogany, right? See? All right, so here, the black describes the worst of conditions on the planet. You know it is. You remember Malcolm X in the movie, talking about black is black male and black day and black sheep and black this and black that and black, and it all meant something ugly. But then when it came to white, it meant something pure and pretty and beautiful and righteous. And so let's stop it. I cannot deputize 12 people. So Pastor Manning, I'm with you on this one. I'm going to do my very best to call people Hamites. That's right. And I'm going to do my very best to call people Japheth, and I'm going to call people Shemites or Jews. You can call them Jews, and you're still good to go. But I'm going to stop using this crayon business. It's ridiculous. It don't make any sense. And I'm going to stop calling Native Americans redskins, right? Of course, only the redskins used the term paleface. It was not a term that was used among the people of Africa, right? So I haven't finished with that. There'll be part 2 of this because we want to be able to convince at least 12 people over the next year. Right? We can get 12 disciples, then we can take the gospel, stop calling people by some artificial crayon box color, but call them by their father's name. We might be able to take it worldwide. So this is June the 19th. There'll be more teachings forthcoming. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manna Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week, producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. If you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart in what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years to watch people around us who have made the commitment to join with our ministry and church and to financially support it. And by the way, I want to give another shout out to Brother Jesse Munoz out there in San Bernardino, along with Goldfinger, who is just extraordinary giver, and others that do extraordinary giving to our ministry. My question is to you, if you are a 3-year veteran or older, why haven't you joined? Why haven't you committed? And I suppose some of the reasons would say, well, Pastor Man, I belong to another church. And why? How could you, after 3 years of hearing me teach about the Sabbath, about righteousness, about the tribulation, and listen to me faithfully as you do, and still go sit up in another pastor's face? How could you be? It's like a woman sleeping with two men. You know, one she likes during the week and the other she likes on the weekend. It's hypocritical. How could you do that? I mean, let's say you started 3 months ago. I can understand. Well, it may take you some time to evaluate. It may take you some time to look at me, to discover, who I am. You say, well, Pastor, that's not that I don't belong to another church or ministry. I'm with you. But there's some things you say I like, and there's some things you say I don't like. Why? Why is it that you've made a decision that there's some things that you don't like are stronger than the things that you do like? I am not a psychiatrist, but I am an analyst. And I have to tell you, I analyze the world, understanding. But the understanding and wisdom tells me this, that if there are things that a person such as myself that I am saying, there is no room to disagree with what I am saying unless your purpose is to find something to disagree with. Let's say, for instance, you say, well, I like the fact that you talk about Obama, but I don't like the fact that you talk about Trump. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those, right? Well, the purpose, it isn't that you just like what I say about Obama, but don't like what I say about Trump. What it is that you are looking for a reason to support Trump. It isn't that you don't like it. It's just that you don't like the fact that I'm saying something about it. It isn't that what I'm saying is wrong. Let me put it that way. It isn't what I'm saying is wrong or indifferent. You know it's right. But you've lived your life, or you've come up, or you've been raised with a doctrine that you can really live in a false reality. That's where you are. You've been raised in a doctrine that you can live in a false reality. That is to say, you can like the truth about Obama, but you don't like the truth about Trump. And it's the same truth. It's the same truth. There's no difference. But because you have been indoctrinated to live in a false reality, you are really a person who needs psychological debriefing. But trust me, there are zillions of people around the world who live that way. There are people who know what I'm saying about Trump or Obama is right. They know it. But they choose to ignore it based on the fact that they find a reality that isn't true, and they've settled in there. Say, well, that's one of the reasons why I've not made a commitment, because, I don't like the fact, I wish you would support what I support. But the truth of the matter is, then why do you come? You've given 3 years or more of your life to listen to me? 3 years of your life to listen to me? And you're not tired of listening to me yet? And you've given 3 years of your life, and over the past 3 years, your life has been greatly upgraded. You've learned, you've been educated, you've been enlightened. And let me say this to you. If you make the commitment, say, well, Pastor, I'm joining with you, and I'm going to support, I'm going to do the tithe and offering, I'm going to do the first fruit, I'm going to keep the Sabbath, your life is going to soar. Now listen to me very carefully. Now I'm not going to leave you alone after this. Listen to me very carefully. You come as often as you come over the past 3 years because you're being helped. You're being educated. You're being enlightened, right? Right. But the thing that you like, whether you say, well, I like what you say about Obama, but I don't like what you say about Trump. You do the same thing with the Word of God, such as you like the things I say, the teachings that I say, the way I explain the Bible, the way I break it all down and make it clear. But when it comes to things like money or tithing and offering or the Sabbath, well, that is also true, but because of your false reality, because you really need a psychological debriefing, because of your false reality, you choose not to believe the tithe or the first fruit or the Sabbath. Now, it isn't true. It's as true with all the other things I've said. But you live in a false reality where you try to ignore the truth about the tithe, and so you don't do it. But everything else I say is good to go. Everything I ever say is good to go, good enough to share with your friends. It makes you laugh. It educates you. It enlightens you. But the tithe, well, and the full commitment to the ministry, well, the first fruit offerings, well, the Sabbath, that's all true as well. But you have chosen and you've been raised and indoctrinated to have a dual reality, which is dangerous. Jesus said this, and I'll leave you. He said, I would rather you be either hot or cold, but not lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You have a dual reality. He said, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. I would rather you be completely stomped down against Pastor Manny, trying to take him down. Be fully against him. Be against him with all of your strength. Or be fully for him with all of your strength. But don't be in the middle, somewhere lukewarm. You're better than to be spit out of the mouth of Jesus if you're lukewarm. So what's it going to be? You're going to make the commitment and grow and be even greatly better blessed, or you're going to continue to walk in the lukewarm spit of the mouth of the Savior. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.